Let's be clear, the extended nationwide lockdown has put a huge question mark over employment in various sectors, and this includes white-collar employees too. Salary cuts, deferred appraisals and layoffs have hit employees of several companies very hard. Layoffs are continuing in many companies across sectors. This despite Prime Minister Narendra Modi's request in his public speech to private companies not to sack people. Let's take a look at the hard realities on the ground.
Massive layoffs, salary cuts, indefinite unpaid leaves. The coronavirus has triggered a new crisis in the Indian economy. The job crisis in India is getting worse. The Prime Minister's appeal to companies not to sack employees has not worked on the boardrooms.
अपने साथ काम करे लोगों के प्रति संवेदना रखे, किसी को नौकरी से न निकाले.
On April 7th, around 15 techies were laid off by a Bengaluru firm on immediate basis, citing the COVID crisis.
At the time of pandemic, I have been fired from the company. The reason for me terminating from the company was COVID-19 pandemic.
Suddenly on 7th of April, we got a call, like 15 of us got a call, telling that you have been fired due to this pandemic. Then they said accounts team will get back to you and they'll be giving you a final settlement.
The techies who were fired with a full and final settlement of 5,600 rupees have now written to the Karnataka Chief Minister. Big corporates too are not immune to salary cuts. Bajaj Auto, India's third biggest two-wheeler manufacturer, has asked its factory employees to take a 10% pay cut if production doesn't resume on 21st April.
मैनेजमेंट ने हमारे सामने प्रस्ताव रखा, चाकन यूनिट के प्रतिनिधि जो यूनियन के प्रतिनिधि उनके सामने प्रस्ताव रखा फोन पे कि बजाज व्यवस्थापन कर्मचारी का 30% वेतन कम लेने का प्रस्ताव रखा है और उन्होंने एक्सेप्ट किया है. वैसा वर्कर लोग 10% वेतन कम ले सकते हैं क्या? और उन्होंने सब मिलके वो प्रस्ताव का स्वागत किया और हमने एक्सेप्ट किया.
Salary cuts are taking place across sectors. Vistara says 30% of its workforce will take compulsory leave without pay for 1 to 3 days, depending on employment grades from 15th to 30th April. People working in the aviation sector are now asking the government to intervene. They warn the current crisis could trigger a Kingfisher Airways-like scenario again. Bureau Report, India Today.
Let's raise the big questions. Are white-collar jobs under threat? Is the middle class facing a real jobs crisis? How can we avert this crisis of unemployment even among middle-class white-collar employees? Is the key to reviving the economy fast, or are companies simply taking shortcuts? I'm joined by Ashish Bhasin, CEO APAC and Chairman India Dentsu AG's network, one of the country's leading advertising agencies. Prabir Jha is HR strategist and founder and CEO Prabir Jha People Advisory. He's been HR head with companies like Reliance and Cipla. Anurag Katiyar is president of the National Restaurants Association of India. Remember, that's a sector very badly affected. Debjani Ghosh is president NASSCOM. I'm also joined by Shweta Punj, the deputy editor at India Today, and she's been tracking this. Let's come to each of you to get a sense of what's happening in your industry. Why don't you start, Debjani Ghosh? Because in our story, we had cases of IT employees being served pink slips almost overnight. Do you believe the way this is happening suggests something is seriously wrong with the sector? Or is it wrong with the way HR practices are being communicated in some of India's leading corporates?
Rajdeep, if I'm not wrong, you talked about, and I don't know which company is it, but you talked about a small company with 15 employees. if you look at the three big guys in India, Wipro, TCS, and Infosys, all three announced results last week, and all three made it very clear there were no COVID-19 layoffs. Not only that, they were going to honor all the offers that they had made. Overall, if I look at the IT companies, that's the part of the NASSCOM group, NASSCOM membership, everybody is trying to see how they can keep employees on board. Do not forget that this industry, the biggest strength of this industry is its people, and we invest a lot in training and skilling our people. So it is never an easy decision to let go of people in this industry, because you're letting go of talent, you're letting go of skills, which you're not going to get back, and you have to invest.
So am I to understand it's the smaller and middle IT companies which may be more tempted to lay off rather than the big ones? Is that what you're telling me?
Even most of the smaller companies, in fact, we have asked the government for a fiscal relief package just for the smaller tech companies, because you have to keep in mind the SMEs, the tech SMEs, 70% of their cost are people cost, unlike other SMEs. The tech SMEs have to, majority of the cost of the tech SMEs are people cost. So yes, with global demand going down, it'll definitely be a problem for them, because you will see consolidation happening at the clients. So yes, we are worried about that segment, but most of them are holding on to their people as of now. They have shifted to work from home. They're holding on to their people. And we have requested the government for a 3,000 crore fiscal relief package, which will give them some breathing room to tide this crisis.
Let me come to you, Anurag Katriyar. You're President, National Restaurants Association. Restaurants, no business, and no business in the foreseeable future, possibly for many restaurants. What kind of impact is that having? Are there layoffs? Are you putting people on furlough, as some companies in the West are doing? In Britain, that's what's happening. You keep someone, tell the person you come back in after 3 or 4 months. Is that what's happening in the restaurant industry today?
Hi. No, I think as far as the March month was concerned, people paid up salaries in full, almost pretty much in full. April, I think there will be partial payments going to people in the industry. So far, we have not seen any major layoffs per se. But I must add here that if this continues for a while, then we may be compelled to do that. It is not about...
You're saying it's a lack of ability, but therefore, if this lockdown continues into May, will there be restaurants which will say, look, let's at least for now cut our losses and thereby cut at least on staff? I mean, how are you going to otherwise manage your bottom lines?
No, Rajdeep, in fact, it's just the other way right now. We are cutting down on every other expense, and the only expense that we are incurring is on our people. In fact, every demand that we have made with the finance ministry is about releasing some cash flow for people issues, whether it is about deferment of taxes, moratorium on loans, everything is with a singular purpose of releasing some cash flow so that we can take care of our people need. But despite all that, you have to realize we are SMEs and MSMEs. We don't have huge cash reserves sitting with us, which can take care of these expenses for a very long time. And that's why we have asked for support from the government through its agencies like ESIC, which is meant for exactly situations.
Okay, so basically you're asking for support. Ashish Bhasin, service sector. You're the head of one of India's leading advertising companies, and we are seeing already salary cuts across media. We are seeing salary cuts. We are seeing, as I said, some companies using the furlough method, which is popular in Britain. Others are sending out pink slips as well. Let's be very clear. Is the service sector today using this opportunity to sort of recalibrate, downsize? How do you see it going in companies like yours, or indeed in the advertising service sectors?
No, I don't think it's that, Rajdeep. I think the situation on ground is really, really bad. In service sector, if I talk about advertising agencies, almost 65% plus of our cost is people cost. Now, if all of a sudden your entire income stops and you still have a 65% cost that you can't do much about, then there is a limit up to which you can pay. And after that, most agencies, particularly the smaller ones, will not have the resources to pay. So I'm the president of the Advertising Agencies Association of India. Out of our 110 members, more than 90, between 90 to 100 are small agencies, right? But whether you're small or you're big, if your income stops, there is no way you can continue to pay 65%, 70% of your costs. And that's why this is massive struggle time at the moment. I have, in fact, written to the INB minister on behalf of the Advertising Agencies Association of India to provide some relief. We're not asking for SOPs because those are ones that should be given to people who really deserve it and need it. But we're just saying that our money, which is with you, because the government is a big advertiser, particularly with smaller agencies, can you at least pay that up if it's overdue? Can you pay the lots of TDS that is deducted? You know, we get only 2.5% agency commission, and TDS deduction is 2%. So every agency has crores and crores of rupees tied up. You're saying just have some empathy, give us some money so that at least we can keep paying the salaries.
You know, but at the end of the day, Ashish, have the salary cuts already started? We are seeing companies, HR departments already sending out letters to employees. If you are above a certain salary bracket, you will get a 20% cut. If you are above a certain bracket, you get a 10% cut. So the cuts have already begun, right?
Yeah, as far as I know, many agencies are doing that, and most often it's at a voluntary level, and at the moment it's at a senior level. Of course, if time continues to, if things continue to be bad, it will spread down on the organization. What everybody is trying to avoid at the moment is that you have some bit of voluntary salary cuts so that you don't have to lay off people, because if you lose good talent, it's almost impossible to replace that in a hurry. And if and when the business does come back, how do you then get your business started? So I think all efforts are to prevent layoffs. But yes, definitely voluntary salary cuts are on the cards. If things don't improve, I'm afraid it's only going to get worse and we'll just go deeper down the organization, and maybe layoffs will also start happening.
It's interesting you're using the word voluntary cuts. Many seem to HR companies or HR departments are just sending out mails to their employees saying these are, this is what the company's decided. Probir Jha, do you think the way companies are dealing with it suggests that HR practices are under stress at the moment? The HR departments are under stress. How do you deal with this situation where there is growing uncertainty around in corporate India, in smaller, larger companies? Will I retain my job next month? The stress factor. How do HR departments deal with this?
So Rajdeep, I think we are sitting and going through a tremendous crisis, and I think the fellow panelists have talked about that. Maybe I'll just take a minute to add my bit and then look at it why it's also an opportunity. There is no denying that the crisis is very severe. People are looking at the government to bail them out. It's not going to be easy because there is already a fiscal deficit the government is needing to look at. So voluntary
why should government bail out private sector? Why should the government? Let's be clear. Government is not going to bail out private sector. They're not going to bail out large companies.
I don't expect that to happen. I don't think people can appeal, but it's a larger issue. And whether it is voluntary or otherwise, pay cuts, revisions of policies, deferments of bonuses, leave without pay, etc. These are all time-tested practices, maybe not on the scale that we have seen, but these are typical responses. I will also caveat that some industries have a far bigger people cost as a part of the total pie than some others. And I think that we have to be very prudent and practical and measured and empathetic when we take a decision. So more than the HR function, which would possibly be executing, a lot of that would depend on really the culture and the philosophy that the boards would possibly need to practice. And I completely agree with you that while the crisis and the here and now for survival will have to be done, to me, it's an opportunity also of revisiting a lot of conventional HR thinking, all the way from the quality of the boards. People have become such a big strategic issue, but how many boards really think people have the capability in their boards to think? Leadership team, I think the crisis will also throw up issues about mediocrity of leadership.
No, is it about inefficiencies? Probir, is it about companies? Is it about companies using this opportunity to remove what they feel are the frills? Do they feel that they are overstaffed at times? Are they badly run and therefore now are pulling back?
So some of the practical responses, Rajdeep, would actually flow from that because it gives you an opportunity. You've got to kind of survive. And even when we are talking about exits, some could be about certain functions, roles not being needed anymore, skills not being needed anymore. So some of that will logically flow. But I'm raising a larger point that this crisis is also an opportunity to look deep within, because I surely believe that many of our Indian companies carry a fair bit of mediocrity and fat in their systems. So it is not very pleasant to talk about that this time. But I think it's an opportunity of reorganizing, looking at your talent, looking at a lot of heavy weights which actually don't make much of a difference in the company. So the quality of exit decisions will, in my view, matter as critically internally to set the tone of the new culture, the new practices, the new ecosystem that the companies might be wanting to drive, while, of course, dealing with the crisis of survival and sustainability.
Ashish Bhasin, is this going to bring a new ecosystem, you think, the post-COVID world? While you struggle in this lockdown, will companies now look for ways in which to manage efficiencies, work from home, find new ways to maybe downsize that terrible word, if I may use?
Yes,
I think
nice is never going to be back same as the way it was for a long time. And definitely, like the previous panelist said, there is fat that accumulates over a period of time, and that has to be relooked at. I think the bigger thing that will happen is that we will get into automation and artificial intelligence and more things which need less people and are less disrupted even in a disrupted world. So I'm afraid that if you look at the advertising sector, I just feel that maybe 50% of the jobs that exist today, even forget the COVID immediate situation, 50% of the jobs that exist today may not exist in the form that they exist, let's say 3 to 5 years from now, because like you said, efficiencies will need to be brought in. The whole game is going to change forever. You know, large, big offices with everybody commuting for 3-4 hours a day, everything needs to be rethought through, right? It's like a wake-up call. It's like a reset opportunity in that sense. Some of this will happen immediately. At the moment, everybody's focus is how to survive this crisis, but this will have a long-lasting impact on the service industries, I feel.
Debjani Ghosh, do you see that also happening in IT, the IT sector, the need for efficiencies, particularly given, you know, in the world of AI, the world of mechanization, that this will also be seen by some companies to relook at their HR strategies?
So for a different reason, Rajdeep, so let me give you some numbers. The IT sector in India is roughly of 4.35 million people. In fact, we just got all the data from companies today to see what percentage was actually working from home versus on site, which is needed for essential services. We have successfully moved more than 96% of that entire workforce strength to work from home. And productivity levels, unfortunately, have gone up significantly. So the feedback that I'm getting from IT companies is, even assuming May 3rd, the opening starts, we want a staggered approach over the next few months. And if, you know, for example, TCS, Rajesh Gopinathan, has announced that by 2025, he's only going to have 25% on site and the rest is going to be working from home. So we are going to see a very different model emerge from this. It's going to be a digital workspace model which is blended between remote working as well as on-site working. Absolutely, that's going to give rise to several challenges as well as opportunities with respect to our people, because people will have new opportunities. We are also going to see the gig economy becoming a reality in India. HR practices will absolutely have to adapt and change for the IT industry, and I guess for many more industries. But I think HR and the way we look at people, you know, as an asset, will have to go through a complete redesign.
Can I ask you, Shweta Punj, you're doing a cover story for India Today magazine, I'm told, on job losses. Is it much worse than even our panelists are making out to be on the ground?
Rajdeep, yes, it's going to be a very, very dire situation, at least for the year 2020. What we are picking up is that while the bigger companies would opt for salary cuts and, you know, redesigned workspaces, a completely new way of working, it's the smaller, the MSMEs, that are going through a very difficult time. In fact, I was speaking to a couple of them and they are saying that they don't even have money to pay salaries for the month of April. They've paid full salaries for the month of March, but April onwards it's going to be tough. So the time bomb is literally ticking for the government to really come out with a stimulus package or a support package, especially for the MSME sector. And because we have to understand that MSMEs form the lifeblood of the economy. They employ about 11 crore people. So while the bigger companies are better placed to withstand the crisis at this point, it's the smaller companies that have already started the layoff process. And I find it, it's a bit ironic when the Prime Minister makes a statement, putting out an appeal for companies to not lay off. Because at the end of the day, you have to see that, how is that small business owner going to get the capital to pay the salaries? I've been speaking to a lot of businesses. They are completely pushed into the corner. In fact, so many of them have dues from the government.
Right.
So the one thing that the government can do, even as it mulls over a stimulus package, is to release what they owe to thousands of MSMEs in the country. So it's going to be pretty bad.
It's going to be pretty bad. A final word, 30 seconds from you, Probir Jha, because, a lot of young people watching this program are saying, what happens to placements? What happens to all those salary packages that we were promised? We've come out of IIM, IIT. Do you see all of that being reviewed?
Yes, it is going to be reviewed. It's not going to be as hunky-dory, Rajdeep, and I have children in the similar situations, and I listen to their friends. So there is a reality check happening. And since you talked about campuses, let me also just add the dimension. There's a larger HR ecosystem beyond formal organizations and white-collar jobs that we will need to address. I think there is a huge need for us to relook our curriculum design, shift to vocationalization than just degrees for the sake of degrees, because those jobs are not going to those degrees are not going to lead to job creations in the conceivable future.
Right.
And therefore, to me, it's a reset opportunity. There will be near-term mayhem. I completely agree. But I think if the boards, the leadership, we can just rethink a lot of from our traditional HR paradigm. I think there is a huge opportunity that I see for India to come out much stronger.
Right.
But it will take us some time.
Let me leave it there. Gentlemen, Debjani, Shweta, Probir, thank you all very much for joining me, Ashish, on this very special program, because I didn't want to frighten our viewers, but many of them are deeply concerned about job cuts, white-collar job cuts. The times, they are tough.
Hi everyone, Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.